Hello? Okay. So I'm just doing a quick video how to make DCS easy, how to get your first kill. Um, yeah. So open up the multiplayer browser and we're going to be playing on Enigmas. So we're going to be using the Sabre for this example. So I just like to put this in here, speeds it up. DCS has a memory leak issue, so if your RAM goes over 95%, you probably got a memory leak, so you need to restart the game. You can check that with Task Manager. Um, Now, set your name here for the Overlord bot. So, when I say Ross, it thinks I said Ras. So that's why that's that. You can, on Enigma's Discord, you can pick up what the Overlord Logs channel will tell you. And I'll just plug my headphones in. Okay. So DCS loads pretty quick, but I would just leave, like same with IL2, when it's starting up, just wait, don't touch anything. So issues can happen. So there's some good guides on aircraft identification, how to set up SRS and whatnot. So I'm using OpenTrack, Thrustmaster T16, TWCS throttle, and BKB pedals. Compared with IL2, you don't use pedals a lot for flying and DCS, but on the ground it really helps. And so now, where do we spawn? So scroll this down and then you'll see they change color and spawn there. Maybe. Let's check. No. Oh yes. Now, but if you click there and nothing happens, there'll be a message here that says the slot's blocked for whatever reason. Now I've flown on this map a few times, so I know that this airfield's pretty good to spawn at. But if you haven't, then just spawn and then press F10 to open the map up. Okay, and then just a quick overview of this. That's the front line, so there'll be ground attack occurring here-ish. So that's the combat you want to be. The yellow zones, going into the yellow zones doesn't mean you're going to die from SAMs or whatever. Like I've chased a plane all the way into Hamas and shot him on the runway. But maybe that was because I was low. Up high, I have been insta-gibbed by SAMs. And I don't know if this yellow means SAMs or just AAA. Sometimes you get flak and whatnot around these circles, which isn't that deadly. So just tip number one, the map is a little bit weird in DCS. So you press F10 to open the map, F1 to go back to this view, F10, F1. So I'll just go through the quick controls we need to take off. It's pretty easy. And I have it laid out so it's even easier. So I'll just go F10 for map, F1 cockpit view. Okay. Now, for engine startup, E, master switch on. We just press it, we can press it twice, it doesn't matter because it's not on off, it's just on. Then 1 moves the throttle forward to the first start position, and then we press 2 to use the starter. We hold that for 5 seconds, then we hit 3 onto battery, then we hit 1 again, and that moves the throttle forward into the unlocked position. We can now move it with our whatever we're using for normal throttle control. Oxygen, just hold that on until it rotates. Flight control, once the engine's powered up, we reset the hydraulic pressure, and then that selects all our guns. Emergency. Let me just try to pop it. A bit noisy. So yeah, cockpit. It's bound to the base of my joystick. All these engine startup things are just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, etc. on the keyboard. Basically, anything I don't need in combat is on the keyboard. Emergency fuel, you don't have to do that, but you can prime it. I've never actually used it. Now, to take off, okay, to taxi, we need nose wheel steering. We hold that down and we use our rudders to steer. Don't drive off the concrete. If you drive onto the dirt, your plane just stops. And then brake. So we just use that to stop. You can taxi pretty fast in these. And then G on my keyboard for landing gear up down. F for flaps up down. And that is everything. Oh, and then if you muck up the startups, end puts the throttle back a notch. And that's reshade. So I would recommend you use reshade. It doesn't make a big difference. It's just easier than using like AMD or Nvidia to fiddle with things. Might as well show you what I'm using. So I'm just using the default for that. Oh, here we go. Luma and Chroma. Makes it look nicer. I bumped the contrast up a little bit. The sharpen I have turned down really quite low. But that's 0.5, 0.085 there. Luma and Chroma, otherwise default. I put that up 0.5. SMA, this is all depth edge detection. If you choose the other modes, it'll make text in game look weird. And then vibrance, I turn that way up because I rely on color to do stuff. Now, we've got takeoff controls sorted out, so combat controls. So these are all on my... Well, we'll go through what's on the top of my stick, okay? So I might change this, but yeah, top hat. I should probably change this to trim, but at the moment, top hat is some radar stuff, okay? Which I'll go through why you would use it and when you would use it later. Guns. Turn on guns, and I pull the trigger and it fires. Turn on missiles, you gotta hold the trigger for 1 second for it to fire. But it's the same trigger button, so you shoot with guns, you can't shoot guns and missiles at the same time because you can only choose one of the modes. And then radar target selector button, and if you've got to lock on something, you can press that button and it will lock onto something else in front of you if you've got multiple things to lock onto. Cage on cage. Important to keep it caged when you're doing big maneuvers. Then this button, wingspan adjustment. On my TWCS Thrustmaster throttle, I use the bottom thumb hat switch for all these. The wingspan adjustment knob, I just set that to minimum. So this is my trim. I should probably change that to top hat, but it's also important to have all your combat controls accessible. So I'm not really using trim in combat, so that's why, but then I'm not really using my thumb for much else except for cage for uncaged. So, and then personally I like to avoid having too much combat stuff on my stick because it can throw your aim off and kind of throw your controls off. And then speed brake and out. So in IL2, I have this as the like middle finger on the throttle and out, the flaps. But in this game, it's speed brake, just in, out, all the way out, all the way in, all the way in, all the way out. And then, so SRS, I have the pinky and the wedding ring finger. For Overlord, pinky, and then general chat, wedding ring. And then on the TLSU throttle, the has a pinky spinner wheel thing that works like an axis. I use that for zoom. Most of the time you want to be zoomed out. The flapper on the TLSS I don't use. It's an axis. Not too sure what I would use it for. And the free stick on the throttle, don't use that for anything. Eject is on my front right of the base. The slider I'm not using. You don't actually need a lot of controls to fly this game. And then the stick in front of that is to reset my open track head position, because I like to, when I'm flying, I'll take my headphones off, put them back on, and then it's best to reset the position. And then maps on the right hand side, and then I have nothing there. I don't do ground attack, but that's there. And then this button, canopy again, and then on the top thumb 8-way I have these. So if I press it forward, that drops bombs, rockets, tanks. It doesn't drop missiles. So it's basically when you see an enemy fighter and you're getting into air-to-air, I press forward on that and I'm going. And then there's also a drop tank, jettison button, which I have for up. So that's all the buttons we need. So now, on the ground, you've got to do two things. First, we turn on ground power. So backslash F8, ground electrical on. Don't worry about turning it off. We can just drive off with it plugged in, no worries. Now, rearm and refuel, F1, in that same menu. So backslash F8, F1, F2, or whatever it was. And this is where we choose our loadout. Okay, which again is not explained that well. That was the two things I found. Like where you get your loadout. This is where you get your loadout and change your skin and everything. And what was the other thing? Oh yeah, you got to hold the missile button down. Those are the two things that, as a new player, I struggled. So we can zoom in, we can zoom out. Now, engine startup. We've got ground power, so we press E. We press 1, moves the throttle forward to the first position. You can kind of hear something happening, then you hold 2 until that kicks in, and then 3 to battery, 1 again. Now our throttle's free, keep it in the low position. 4 moves this forward to full oxygen. 5, don't worry about that yet, hydraulic pressure's got to get up. 6 activates all our guns. 7, don't worry about that yet, we've got to get up to pressure. And now guns on my stick, activates guns, missiles, that's that there. Turn that to max. Set SRS is not connected, but basically set that to TR, set the volume, and go to 1 or 2. Now let's see if I can get okay, it works. So I have this on my other screen, but basically I hit that and that. So why is that? That should be 253 for Overlord. So that's 2. 253 channel 2 Overlord. And for some reason that one is not, it should be 251. I think I can just go, and I might have to move it onto my other screen. For some reason that is not working well. So yeah, hydraulic pressure, reset that, that fixes that. Turn this on.